Did you know there is a ski resort in Pennsylvania that stayed open into May this past season? Today I'm doing a full ski resort review on a mountain that many think is the best in the state, and that is Camelback Ski Resort. I review every mountain I visit on 5 categories, score them from 0 to 20, and at the end of the video I'll add up all the scores to get a total out of 100 to help you easily decide if visiting Camelback Ski Resort is worth your time and money. First, let's take a deeper look at the terrain offered at Camelback Ski Resort. This mountain has 166 skiable acres spread across its slopes, which is also the largest skiable footprint in the Pocono Mountains. There's a total of 39 ski and snowboard trails, giving riders a good diversity of terrain types to choose from. 39% of the trails are for beginners, 26 are for intermediates, and 35 are for more advanced riders. So regardless of your skill level, you should be able to easily find fun terrain to ride. In fact, when I rode here, I didn't even pay too much attention to the trail map because just about any trail I took had quality snow and was fun to ride. So I was able to explore the mountain without worrying about running into the wrong turn or a bad trail or getting stuck in a flat area, which was really nice. The longest trail at Camelback is listed as 1 mile, and that's accurate, with the longest route I found was about 1.1 miles at the most. Now I do want to point out that just about any route that I took down the mountain ended up being at least 0.7 miles and up to a mile. So each run will feel decently long, especially for a ski resort in Pennsylvania. One of the limitations of this mountain is their total vertical drop is listed at only 800 feet. Now my GPS data did say that my max vertical riding here was 842 feet, but this still is less than other mountains in Pennsylvania, like Elk, Blue, and Montage, which all have over 1,000 feet of vertical. And I generally tend to think that 1,000-foot vertical or higher is an important marker for solid mountains in the Mid-Atlantic region. But it is still higher than other popular ski resorts in Pennsylvania, like Seven Springs, Jack Frost, and Liberty. So it falls somewhere in the middle of the PA Mountains when you look at vert alone. But Camelback Ski Resort did something that completely surprised the skiing and snowboarding community this past season. Camelback was able to blow and maintain open snow slopes longer than any ski resort in the entire Mid-Atlantic and Southeast regions, lasting all the way into early May. In years past, standout mountains like Snowshoe, West Virginia, Sugar, North Carolina, or even Blue Mountain, Pennsylvania have been ski resorts that will stretch the season longer than most. But Camelback outshined them all and stayed open over a month longer than any other mountain, finally having their last ski day of the 25-26 season on May 5th. Now most people will be looking to visit Camelback during the typical season of December to February, and the full trail breakdown is that they have 14 green, 12 blue, 6 black, 3 double black, 3 park, and several glade areas to explore. Now I do want to say that just because the map calls a trail a double black doesn't necessarily mean it should be, or that it'll compare to other double black trails, especially if you're comparing it to trails up north or out west. In fact, when I rode here, I hopped on the double black trail of Basilisk, and on my first run at this mountain, other than the flat light, there really wasn't any part of this trail that made it harder than a blue. So use your best judgment, but other than that, all the trails really looked fun and flowy.
Oh, here's a double black.
And there are still some harder trails to explore, like this one right here. On the right side of the map, there were also some green trails that started to get more iced out later in the afternoon, but they can happen at any mountain. Camelback does have 3 park trails as well that looked pretty fun, but unfortunately my legs weren't really feeling like hitting any of the jumps, so I'll have to revisit the park again in the near future. Oh, and don't forget, Camelback was voted the 4th best in Pennsylvania for après-ski by On the Snow. So after riding almost every run at Camelback, I'm going to give its terrain a score of 15 out of 20, because it does have a good terrain variety and footprint to explore, but it's still missing designated glade trails. There are several areas where I found it quickly cut into the trees, but nothing set aside specifically for tree skiing. Next, let's look at how Camelback's layout ties into your experience here. Is it easy to navigate, or can it get confusing? Well, luckily, I found this ski resort quite easy to navigate without really looking at the map often. I was even able to ride from the main lift on the top right of the map all the way to the opposite side of the ski resort at the bottom of Cliffhanger in one run without skating, which pretty much opens up the entire mountain pretty easily without worrying about taking multiple lifts and trails to get from one side to the other. Not that you'll always ride like that, but it makes riding or meeting up with others simple. And I can't say that about a lot of other mountains in the Mid-Atlantic. There are 12 total lifts here, one high-speed 6-seater, one high-speed quad, 2 triples, 2 doubles, and 6 surface lifts. Now, several different lifts service base summit terrain, which makes for short and fast lift rides back to the top. I spent most of the day only using the 2 high-speed lifts on either side of the mountain because you can easily access almost the entirety of its terrain from those 2 starting points. And although the terrain park has its own dedicated chair, it's also accessible from other areas too, which is a great part of Camelback's mountain layout. So with all these aspects considered, the layout scores a 17 out of 20 for really having some of the more upgraded lifts in Pennsylvania and allowing for multiple ways to get to the summit, which keeps the line short. Now let's not forget that most people who want to visit Camelback need a place to stay. So let's look at the lodging offered here. And my first impressions while driving up to the main base at Camelback was all the lodging options. Easily one of the best on-mountain lodging capabilities I've seen so far in Pennsylvania. So this can be a great thing for those looking to stay on the mountain to easily walk right onto the slopes in the morning, but it can also be somewhat of a negative because it allows for a high quantity of other people to easily stay here. So just keep in mind that this mountain can get pretty crowded on peak weekends in the middle of the season. Overall, the lodging at Camelback scores a nice 16 out of 20 for having big lodges at the base, as well as other options slopeside. So how much will it cost you to come and ride at this ski resort? Surprisingly, for a popular ski resort in Pennsylvania, the daily lift ticket prices are still pretty reasonable, only costing an adult $69 for a weekday and $99 for a weekend. Now, exact prices of daily lift tickets may vary slightly throughout the season, but these are good ballpark numbers. Not to forget, Camelback offers additional discounts for military, veterans, and first responders, and you can access these lift ticket discounts by verifying your status online through GovX. And tickets of skiers and snowboarders who are 70 years old or more can get $10 lift tickets, and kids 5 and under ski for free. Camelback is also on the Icon Ski Resort list, meaning if you have an Icon pass, you can either get 5 or 7 free ski days here depending on what type of pass you have. And if you're planning to ride at Camelback more often than that, they offer peak-to-peak pass that includes unlimited days at both Camelback and Blue Mountain. That's about $929 for adults and $149 for children ages 6 to 9. There's also just a Camelback season pass that's $399 for adults and $79 for children, but in my opinion, their best pass option is their weekday pass, which is unlimited for weekdays, and you can also go on weekend twilight hours from 3 p.m. to close for only $269. So for all the various pricing options, discounts, and passes to choose from, Camelback cost scores a 15 out of 20. And the last category we're going to look at is the uniqueness factor. What makes Camelback stand out in Pennsylvania? Well, what stands out most visually is all the other activities there are at this ski resort, including an indoor water park, indoor arcade, a mountain coaster, over 40 tubing lanes, and more of a big village feel than anywhere else in Pennsylvania. And although those features aren't necessarily about the mountain statistics, it really pulls together a well-rounded ski resort experience for everyone. Uniqueness scores a 15 out of 20, especially when you remember how late into the season they are able to keep skiing and snowboarding going. So after going over every aspect of Camelback Ski Resort, it scores a total of 78 out of 100, which is one of the higher scores for a Pennsylvania ski resort. So what'd you think of my rating? Did I leave out something important? What was your favorite part of Camelback? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it.
Sick, bro.
But if you're looking for more ski resorts worth your time in Pennsylvania, then you won't want to miss this next ski resort review right here.